So these are the specifics, these are the details that help us train our brain, nervous system to get used to that before it actually happens. This is what athletes do. Hi, I'm Kimberly, and I went through over 10 years of extreme chronic illness with Lyme disease, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, multiple chemical sensitivities, and I have since fully healed. And there are a few things that really helped for me. I used brain retraining, encompassing all of the other things. And one of the ways that I was able to help myself with brain retraining that wasn't necessarily in the program, but something I created, was a close the gap exercise. So if you would like, I have the PDFs linked down below where you can download these for free. And if you'd like to look at them while we're going through this video, feel free to pause it and either pull them up on your screen on your computer or print them out. So the close the gap exercise is a way for us to visualize something that's in the future when it feels very far away, very removed from where we are currently at. So like for me, for instance, driving was something that was like way out of reach for me for a long time. And I felt like, how do I even make this feel real to me? So I ended up finding a few ways to do this. Now I'll read this little first paragraph to you here. Sometimes we have a future vision of ourselves and what we want, but we can't yet see it clearly. We don't know the details and the formula to actually make it real in our lives. This exercise helps us to close that gap between the current reality and the reality that we are bringing to life. Let's go through these steps together. At the top of the page, this is what the empty form for you to fill out looks like. And this is the example page. So this is the driving example, which I myself actually really used when I was unable to drive at certain times. The first step on here is to say what your goal is. Like, what is the thing that you want to attain? So at the top of the page, we have a future reality, our ultimate goal in this one sense. Now, breaking down your goals into little things can be helpful. So like ultimate goal would be like, I want to heal. I want to be able to do everything. One aspect of that might be for you, as it was for me, driving again. So that was one of the things that I was able to more tangibly say, like, this specifically is something that I want to do. This could also be something with like a food that you're wanting to bring into your, back into your reality, back onto your plate and your body to be able to digest it perfectly and use all those nutrients. This could be anything. This could be having that dream job or getting your job back or being able to travel, literally anything. So at the top of the page, you're going to put the ultimate goal for this specific thing, this specific topic. It can be a shorter term or longer term goal. So the example is, I drive with complete freedom. So that is what I have for my ultimate goal here. Step 2, at the bottom of the page, we have our current reality. So the circumstances, logistics, and situations that we currently have been in up until this point. So what the current reality is, and what would you like to call this current reality? So the example that I have in this area here is, I am driven by others. So that was my current reality for a very long time. I was driven by others. So ultimate goals, I drive with complete freedom. And the current reality when I first did this was, I am driven by others. So step 3, under the title at the top of the page, give a brief description of what this looks like and feels like. So an example could be, I confidently and easily drive myself wherever I want to go, whenever I want to go, for as far as I want to go. And this is my current reality. I go on road trips. I got a car in 2016 and I have put, or no, the car is 2016. I got the car in 2022 and I have already put 50,000 miles on that car. So I go all over the place. I have so much fun off-roading, doing all this stuff. It's wonderful. It became my reality. I closed the gap to this. So that is step 3. Step 4. Above the title at the bottom of the page, write a brief description of the current reality up until this point. So for example, I ask someone if they can take me where I need to go, give them the time and the day that I need to be there, and sit in the passenger seat as we drive. So, reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, this was often my mom, but it could have been other people as well. So it was like, I need to go to this appointment on this day. I need to get here at this time. Can you take me? Does this work for you? There wasn't just the ability to go on my own and do it. So that was my reality at the time. Now, this is the fun part. So we have now this gap, as you see here, the gap in between the future reality and the current reality. So this is where we're going to fill this in and create a bunch of bullet points here. So step 5, fill in the gap by answering the questions. What are the steps that will get me to my goal? We can use both visualization and action here. So examples of this. I see myself driving down the road, the steering wheel in my hands, the music playing, switching lanes, enjoying my time alone, feeling excited to get where I want to go. That's a visualization example. An action. Possible actions that lead to closing the gap from the bottom to the top. I sit in the car in the driveway. I turn the car on, put the music on, look out the windshield, and imagine myself driving down the road. So I actually did this on many occasions. Started by lying on the floor and doing all my visualizations, futurizations in the morning, and listening to my recorded scripts of these things. And I would visualize myself while I was lying on the floor, visualize myself seeing this future version of me driving, like sitting in the car, turning the car on, putting the music on, looking out the windshield, imagine myself driving down the road. So these are the specifics, these are the details that help us to really train our brain, our nervous system, to get used to that before it actually happens. This is what athletes do. This is what they do. They visualize over and over and over, see themselves doing whatever it is that they want to accomplish, even if it's things that they've never done or they've been told are impossible to do. And many people have accomplished things that they were told were impossible, including people that have healed from things that they were told they would never heal from. I was told that I would never fully come out of what it was that I was in, and that I would live with versions of this forever. Visualize driving in the house is the very first thing I have on here. Imagine my hands on the steering wheel, turning on the car, coming to intersections, turning on blinkers. So these are all the very specifics, the hearing the blinker in your head, hearing the road beneath the wheels of the car as you're driving, like getting into specifics like that. Second, sit in the car in the driveway, turn the car on, put on the music, look out the windshield, imagine myself driving down the road. Third, drive the car down the street back to the house. And this could literally be, this was my first actual experience of turning the car on and moving the car myself, being the only one in the car, was my mom was like, hey, do you think you can back the car out of the driveway? And this was after I'd been brain retraining for a while, and I'm starting to feel more confident, and that things were, I've seen little shifts here and there and things. And I was like, okay. And I was really nervous at this point because, like, when I would turn and look behind me, I would get really dizzy still. Like, that would still, my neck had a lot of cervical stuff going on and a lot of vertigo things going on, which is one of the reasons why I wasn't driving. And so I would look back and I would be like, oh no, like my neck's gonna go out of place, or I'm gonna get vertigo. I just centered myself and said, okay, I'm just gonna go into the car. I'm just gonna back it out about like 15-20 feet into the street. So I did. I sat in the car, I turned the car on, and I put the car in reverse, looked behind me, and backed that car out of the driveway, put it back in park, turned the car off, opened the door, got out, and I was like, holy moly, I did it. I actually did this. And that was like a huge boost to my confidence, knowing that that is not something that I would have felt capable of doing for a long time for very many reasons other than the ones that I just mentioned. So then driving the car down the street and back to the house, like that could literally be like, we lived in a cul-de-sac, so a circle in the cul-de-sac and going back into the driveway. I did practice driving in the neighborhood. That was something that I did. Next one, have someone drive you to a back road or through an empty parking lot with no traffic and drive up and down the road. So that would be like the next step. You know, I don't have to go through the busy intersections, but it would be further than my neighborhood, a different terrain than my familiar surroundings, and getting myself used to it without having to worry about other traffic, you know, and so many other cars on the road. I could just worry about my own driving and like, you know, like what I was specifically doing, how the car felt, you know, doing the blinkers, looking in my mirrors, all that kind of stuff. Next would be ask someone to sit in the passenger seat with you as you drive shorter distances on busier roads. So then a next step, you know, like, okay, I got out there to the back roads now. I think I can deal with more traffic. Let me get, you know, more into like intersections and lights and stop signs and things like that. So it's making these incremental movements. And trust me, like once you get past those first ones at the bottom, it goes like so much faster. It's like, it's getting past that initial hurdle of just the fear of doing any of it is a huge thing. And then once we get, you know, up a little higher, it's just, I mean, it goes fast. I mean, this is what happened for me in so many instances, not just the driving. So next is drive myself alone to my closest and on my closest and most familiar roads. So maybe to the grocery store that's a mile away and back. Into the grocery store, it was like a whole nother thing about going to the grocery store by myself and all the stimulation and everything in the store. So this is where things kind of start to tie together, you know, and these different practices really come together as like one action towards multiple things. And this is real life, right? Combining all these like typical things that somebody does in a day and making it our reality to be doing them again. So then it's drive myself longer distances alone. Then it's I drive myself everywhere in town and try going places I haven't yet been. So that's a whole nother thing, literal creating highways of neural pathways in your brain, in your nervous system while you're driving on roads. Like you're creating the roads in your brain as you're driving the roads. Like driving is my favorite metaphor for brain retraining. And then lastly, I drive myself outside of town and longer distances, trying new places all the time. Then we get to here, which is the description of the ultimate goal. I confidently and easily drive myself wherever I want to go, whenever I want to go, for as long as I want to go. And that's my current reality. So anything can be used here to close the gap of any of your dreams. And this can go beyond health and wellness as well. This can be literally anything that you want to accomplish in life. So again, down below are the links to the PDFs. Please give this a try and comment in the comments if you've given this a try or if you've done something like this before, and how it worked for you, you know, ways, little tips and tricks that you've used or are using to help with this. So this is kind of like a version of scripting, you know, of futurizing. So if you're not like, if visualization specifically, like being able to see images, isn't necessarily like the strongest point for you, this might be a really good exercise because it's more action based. So you're like really thinking of like, what are things I can actually do here? It doesn't have to just be visualizations, but actual like steps to getting you. And you don't have to fill this entire thing in at once. Like there's often going to be like lapses here, like lapses in the gaps here. So you're gonna have like maybe like, oh, I can think of like the first few things that I could do to close the gap to whatever my goal is here, or maybe I can think of things that are just under the goal, you know, what would maybe be like a last couple steps until we get there. But there may be some like space here, and that's okay. You can do multiple of these for multiple different goals, you know, have all these different pages, you know, have a journal of all these different pages, and you don't have to use this. You can just use a page in a journal as well and just use this format and like go back to them. And when you think of it and say like, oh wait, this is a perfect opportunity like for me to like add a step. I just thought of something that would be great. Go back in there and add it. whenever it feels right. Oh, also, I have a video that's answering a question that led to this about like, how do we get from one thing to another? So if you'd like to see that video, that link is also going to be down below. I'm a wellness coach. If you have questions and you want support in your brain retraining and closing your gaps, please reach out through the links down below. I would love to set up a consultation with you and see how I can best support you in coaching. All right, thanks for joining me in this video, and I will see you in the next video. All right, bye.